Hey there guys, how's it going? Alrighty, so we're going to be doing another one of the Medals of the Future series of videos here, where I basically tell you, as far as I can tell, all the medals that have come out in the Japanese version that haven't come out in our version just yet, from basically the point from the last video. So we're going to be going over a few medals today that will look very similar to ones you may have already seen, but they may have a different attribute or a different, well yeah, basically a different attribute, but effectively be the same as other ones. I'm just going to be playing some Colosseum in the background just to give you guys something to look at while I'm talking at you, just sort of word vomiting. It's, again, if you don't want to be spoiled about medals that are coming up in the future, definitely don't watch this, basically. But if you do want to know for, like, investment decision or purchasing decision in the future, what should I avoid, what should I go for, what would fit in well to your particular setup, so put yourself in your own shoes and go, with these medals that I'm talking about now, help me out in my game or not, and yeah, I'll basically talk you through all of them. So, now that you've been warned, let's go ahead and start off with ones that should look a bit familiar to you. So first off the bat, we have Sephiroth EX Plus and Cloud EX Plus is counterparts of the reverse speed and reverse magic attribute. So you might recognize them immediately because they have exactly the same multipliers, being a pretty impressive 15.38, which hits depending on how much HP you have. So again, that should be hitting at max pretty much all the time. Obviously the tier 8s hit all targets and cost 4 gauges and deal 3 hits. So good high score challenge medals, but not the best. Still very, very powerful. The buffs that they do are probably the big winners here, being the either -2 reverse or -2 upright, as well as the -7 for their particular attribute, so either power, speed, or magic. I put two little odd question marks here because there is always the potential that they could complete the set, so to speak, and also have an upright speed and an upright magic. It's definitely not out of the question. They've definitely filled out sets before, but at the same time, they've definitely had sets that are almost complete and just left them completely alone. So who knows? In terms of which one's coming out first, it should be Vanitas first and then Master Xehanort. The Master Xehanort artwork comes from the 2.5 HD collection box, if you were curious, I suppose. Given that that's got the logo on it, I'm going to show you this one here on the PS4 version, which doesn't have the logo on it. But I mean, it's a tiny little bit of trivia for you there, I suppose. One thing to note though is that so far these ones have all had their own black and white trait medals associated with them as well, so yeah, I mean, on the whole, decent medals. And if like, because in our version they don't come with a mercy, right? Sorry, in neither version they come with a mercy for the actual medal themselves. If the actual medal itself came with a mercy, even if the mercy was pretty high, like let's say, 15-20 pulls, I might even recommend going for these, like alongside the trait medal coming from the same banner every 5 pulls. If that was the case, I would probably really strongly recommend pulling for these, but as it stands, I'm not too sure. I'd sort of have to make them work with my setup. In my case, I don't really have a really good reverse setup, which is where obviously what 3 of them are. Yes, I care about my setup. Anyway, let's move on to the next set of medals, shall we? And we'll talk about them properly when they actually do come out, but this is just to keep in mind for the future. Alrighty, so another medal that should look familiar to you, we have the Neku, the World Ends With You Key Art 2, I believe, and it has 2 counterparts of the upright speed and upright magic variety. Same again, they give you 1 lot of upright buff per turn for 2 turns, as well as being really like good raid medals. Basically, the multiplier will max out so long as you have like a lot of lux. The cool thing about these medals is, okay, see my setup right here. I think it's a pretty decent setup for the current game that we're in right now. It only has like 1 EX, and it's still carrying me pretty far. I mean, I know the month has only just begun, but I'm in a decent spot with Colosseum. You know, I've hit tier 16 without much of a problem, which I think is pretty cool. I think my setup could be improved with medals like this, and I'll show you why. So, I have these. I never shut up about these medals, right? I have a Days Riku, which has a good trait on it, and a Final Form Sora, which has a really, really good traits on it. The point is, though, that the multipliers these guys have, that 4.60, which makes them stand out quite a lot, that can only be used on them in their slot. If I'm going to copy that with either a medal in the 4th slot, or I guess potentially the 2nd, or potentially even the 6th slot, right? If I'm going to copy those medals, they're not going to have that awesome slot multiplier, that awesome multiplier coming along with them. Xion being sitting in this slot, because she's in slot 4, even though she's acting as Sora when she copies forward, she's only ever going to get the 2.91, I believe, yeah. So, right now I have like 2 medals that hit extremely hard, and I'm very, very happy with them. This one right here, I could always see some room for improvement, though. I couldn't really replace it with an upright, with a reverse medal, though, because every single medal in my Keyblade up to that point buffs the upright attribute. Without literally changing the entire basis of the Keyblade, I couldn't really make a reverse setup. Sorry, I couldn't plop a reverse medal in that slot and use it effectively, because I'd have to, again, be getting reverse buffs instead of upright buffs. However, if I could copy a medal that already had like a natively good multiplier across the board, aka one like this, which has, okay, let's say it would appear in game as 4.52, which is almost exactly the same as this, right? But it would be slightly lower in this slot right here, and again slightly lower in this slot here if you were to replace Final Form Sora and Days Riku with the Armor of the Master and the 3 fairies from Kingdom Hearts 2, Riku, Yuna, and Pain, I believe, from Final Fantasy X and X-2. If you were to replace those 2 medals with these 2 right here, then this medal as well would also get that really big slot multiplier, which would make you effectively have 3 powerful medals instead of effectively 2.5 right now. It's the sort of things like that to think about, whether will this actually improve my setup or not, depends on what you already have. And you gotta think about, okay, how does this medal stand not only on its own, but how could it improve my entire setup? It's worth pointing out that when the Armor of the Master medal that you see here, medal, was initially released, it was released as part of a banner that came with the brand new illustrated Kingdom Hearts 2 Riku EX. God lord, that's a mouthful. And that banner came at the same time. Like, he was a Mercy during that banner, and Riku was not. So, I believe they've gone ahead and, obviously they've gone ahead and changed that because we don't have a copy of him at all. So, now that we're in tier 8, and he's only a tier 7, they might do that thing where they just, like, smush a whole bunch of tier 7s into a banner later on, like they initially did with all the medals that they skipped over in our version, like Leon and HD Pete, like HD Kingdom Hearts 2 Leon and HD Pete. So I mean that may happen, but just putting this out there, they may never come out, you know. So don't bite my head off if you're like, oh, I've got Fairy Stars built really well. I just need the Armor of the Master to finish it off, and it never comes out, you know. Just putting it out there, so don't bite my head off if that eventually happens. But let's move on to the next ones. Okay, now let's talk about the High Score Challenge medals that are coming out. So we have King Triton that you've already been introduced to. There's 2 more in that set, if you will, which are random target medals. So we've already actually had the single target and all targets version of this event already come out. So that is actually the single target version of these medals, which cost 7 gauges and do some gauge restore. This one restores 4. These ones restore 3. Sorry, that way. These ones restore 3, and so do the 7 gauge cost. Aladdin and Carpet was the upright speed, and I want to say, was it Donald and Goofy, the illustrated Halloween Donald and Goofy, or it might have been something else, but whatever it is, the point is we've already had the upright speed and upright magic versions of the all targets, and we've already had all the all targets and all the single targets, and now we're into the random target versions of these same medals, basically. That was way too long. Point is, next we've got Diz, and then after that we've got Scar, which are upright speed, and just to break the pattern, it's going to be a reverse power. Again, ludicrously powerful 21.90 multipliers, even though it's a random target, which means that the 4 hits that it do are effectively spread out across different targets. Most of the time, this will function as a single target medal for you, right? Most of the time. So if you do get your hands on one of these, it's an extremely powerful 21.90 multiplier medal, which is really good. Extremely good. The thing is though, it's a high score challenge medal, so it's only available to, at most, 5,000 people. Very difficult to get your hands on, especially if everyone's pulling on the particular banner that comes out at that time. I didn't even try for the King Triton. Well, sorry, I mean, I did the high score challenge, but I didn't go super hard for it because I was kind of hoping that everyone else would go super hard for it, and then I could slide in and maybe get a Diz or maybe get a Scar, or maybe even get one of the high score challenge medals I'm going to talk about next. But that could be the way you want to play it if you want. Bear in mind, of course, Anniversary is literally just around the corner. It is extremely soon, so who knows, Anniversary could have incredibly good banners that could make you spend all of your jewels on it and then have no jewels for these high score challenge medals anyway, but it's worth to know they're coming out. Let's move on. Speaking of high score challenge medals, we're going to move on to one high score challenge medal known as Nick and Judy, which functions exactly the same as Terra and the Warrior of Light. It's just not pixely, and it's the upright speed version. So again, horrific. Oh, actually no, and it's also tier 8 because we're in tier 8 now, and it's been released after Sephiroth EX and Cloud EX Plus, so therefore we have to have a tier 8 version again. Well, look at that multiply, guys. 24.32 multiply. That isn't even funny. So this medal has incredible utility. It acts either as a single target or an all targets medal, depending on how many targets are left, basically. It just gives you +7 to your strength and -2 to your upright defense, as well as 2 to the counter, as well as 30% to every single medal's guilt following it. So effectively, even though it says they hit for 2,000, they always hit for, they always hit for 200%. The multiplier doesn't even take into account the additional 30%. So Look at that 21.96 right there, right? That actually, if you got the metal maxed out to, sorry, gilted out to max, it's always going to hit at 230, so that actually becomes 24.32. The 24.32 is also increased by 30% to a number which I can calculate it right now, I suppose. I can't be bothered, but it'd be a lot. It'd be 30% again, so what would that be? Another, what was that, 2.38-ish, or 36? So 27-ish coming up. Yeah, coming up against 27. That's very, very high. That's an extremely high amount of multiplier. And again, this will be the medal that I go absolutely insane trying to get. That could sit on the back of my fairy stars. It could sit, I mean, if I don't get top 1,000, which I'd be lucky to get top 5,000 and going for this thing, but even if you put it at the front of your Keyblade, it would apply boosts to all the rest of your medals coming along. I know that isn't like the ideal scenario, but I'd be happy to have just one of these guys, considering I missed the Final Fantasy ones. I was like away when that event was around, and I bloody missed out on all of them. So you guys get out of the way, because I'm having that bloody Zootopia medal. Speaking of the fact that it's a Zootopia medal, you might be scratching your head going, didn't we just have a Zootopia event? And you would be right. We did just have a Zootopia event. The problem is that also the Japanese version had their Zootopia event a little bit after ours, and because we couldn't possibly sync, you know, they only feed us all the medal data and all the events and everything else, but they couldn't possibly give Cena the new medal as well. So they've gone and just given it out for their event, their Zootopia event, and just not given it out for ours. So I don't know if this medal will ever come out, or it could just be like how we had the Flash medal that just, we missed the boat on it and it just never came out for like, what, a year and a half or whatever it ended up being. So fingers crossed we do see this medal, but there is a possibility we just won't because of, well, because that's how Cena rolls sometimes. But next, okay. So I put these four together because I was getting to the point where I couldn't be bothered making slides anymore because it took way too long. It takes like half an hour per slide. It takes way too long. Anyway, Zack is pretty good. He gives you an upright power buff as well as an upright defense debuff to your enemies, as well as a couple other buffs as well. I think he's pretty good, but nothing like insanely good enough to make its own slide about. Zoldan I want to talk about a lot, except for the fact that I think we've missed the event. I think it's going to be like the Japanese version of the Organization 13B medals, where we had a chance to get them all, and then, sorry, we started getting them 2 months after the Japanese version started getting them. So that came out in March, right? So March being the third month of the year, and Zoldan being the third organization member out of Organization 13, means that I think we're just going to miss this one because, again, we're already in April, and we're just going to get the next one down the line, so Organization member number 4. I would like to talk about it, but if it's not going to come out in our version for a year, there's not much point. Suffice it to say, though, it is extremely powerful. It came with a 15 pull Mercy. Sorry, I want to say a 5 pull Mercy, which is for 15,000 joules. And it also came with an associated event where you had to take out a data version of Zoldan, and there were like a bunch of different quests, and there were 5 of them in which you would get trait medals for it. So they were giving you out free trait medals, effectively. The quests were extremely difficult, but it's like, that is how you get me to pull for a medal. If I can pull for a medal and be rewarded with trait medals as well that make it super strong, potentially, I mean, if you get good luck, potentially, that's how you get me to want to pull for a medal. That's an extremely good idea. So, again, it's very, very powerful and has very good buffs, but if it isn't going to come out in our version for a year, there's not much point in talking about it now. The little chocolate Valentine's medals down the bottom there, which are a chocolate Mickey and Minnie chocolate version of, it looks just like the Valentine's Mickey from last year, basically. They didn't give it to us. It was effectively, it is a magic mirror. It is exactly the same as a magic mirror, just a novelty, limited time only version of it. And they just didn't give us any. So, are they going to give it out outside of Valentine's Day? They could. They give us, like, you know, Christmas Roxas just now, even though Christmas was a couple months ago. So, we could still see this, for sure. I mean, if we get them, that'd be cool, I guess, just to have like a novelty medal in your inventory, but I mean, if I ever get mine, I'm definitely not going to use them just because, you know, they're very rare and unique, and I already have like 700 mirrors at this point. Anyway, the last one is this Riku replica right here, and he was the inspiration for the whole video basically, because whenever a new copycat medal comes out, I always want people to start saving for it just in case. It may not be applicable to everyone, but copycat medals, pound for pound, I think are the best medals in this entire game. They will stay relevant the longest, in my opinion, and the fact that they're always in the medal pool means that you always have, even if it's only a tiny chance, you always have a really, really good chance at getting a trait on it, which again could extend the life of the thing almost indefinitely. So let's talk about Riku Replica in a little bit more detail, shall we? So, reverse power medal, which actually is a copycat medal that copies backwards. So we never got a medal in our version of the game called Oogie Boogie, but it was a tier, this is back then, it was a tier 4 copycat medal that copied backwards instead of copying forwards like almost all the rest of ours do. It effectively acts exactly like this medal right here, but it's a tier friggin' 8 version, so it's going to hit with 230% guild on top, 230% multiplier on top of any medal that you choose to copy it with. This has alarmingly good potential, alarmingly good. I could put, like, I was thinking, for example, like, let's say you want to do a Fairy Stars build and you want to put it, obviously, in slot 4. If you do want to do that, and let's see if I can get this right. Bonk. Damn it, I messed it up, but I think I had it in the equipment screen before, and now I have it on the mission star screen. Anyway, let's say you want to plonk him right there. You can then copy any medal in slot 3, and that medal in slot 3 could be like, there we go, what about that? It could be like the the Illustrated Kingdom Hearts 2 Riku, which is an upright magic. Sorry, just forgive me, I put the other Riku EX in there instead, because I don't have the other Riku. You could copy a lot of good medals backwards, and again, this is my point of view. I think about it like that because I'm really happy with this medal right here. And again, copycat medals copying forward onto that don't do very well because they only get 2.91 again instead of getting the full 4.60. So a copy medal that copies backwards could get a really, really nice multiplier and additional buffs off, like, again, I don't know, like HD Aqua EX, or I mean, if you guys have got Final Fantasy Record Keeper Terra, or like, again, the Riku that I mentioned before, Kingdom Hearts 2 Illustrated Riku, could be very, very good. I mean, you could have pretty much, it applies just about everywhere. I mean, I suppose it has use with Starlight. Starlight, though, is a bit funny because, I mean, in the first two slots you're probably going to use for buffers anyway, so you might not get tons of use out of it, but I mean, it would still hit pretty friggin' hard on Starlight. I mean, obligatory treasure trove, I suppose you could talk about, but nothing really to write home about there. Obviously, no one really uses treasure trove anymore. Yeah, but I mean, that first slot could hit pretty hard in Proud Mode, I suppose, if you're forced to use it. Obviously, skip that over. Olympia, again, the only slot is the second slot, so it could give you nice buffs if you have, let's say, Shion EX or Kari EX in the front, or whatever buffer you choose to have. Could be nice, but again, that's not its full potential. Again, the full potential is it has 230% multiplier. Add that to any medal in the freaking game. That's crazy. That needs to be at the back of the slot once you have almost all your buffs already. Obviously, skip Divine Rose. Again, Moogle Glory, we talked about it before, slot 3, not super important. But basically, Stroke of Midnight, slot 5. I was talking to Kingdom Hearts Union Cross Nation the other day, a fellow YouTuber and content creator, you should definitely check him out. Basically talking about how low-key Stroke of Midnight is a pretty decent Keyblade that doesn't really have its time to shine because compared to other Tricolor Keyblades, pretty much just being Fairy Stars, it's definitely overlooked, but it definitely has some potential, and if they give it more decent buffs in the future, more medals to work with, like that slot right there, that reverse speed slot is kind of funny, but if they give good medals that could make use of that, could be a pretty decent medal. You could only really use it for upright purposes though. Like if you want to use Riku Replica on the Stroke of Midnight, you could pretty much only run an upright setup, but I mean, well, yeah, you pretty much would be forced to run an upright setup in that case. Obviously Fenrir has potential being on slot 4, you could run a full upright power medal. God damn. Upright power Keyblade. And finally for, where is he? Where the hell's Darknor? This is embarrassing. Nope. I must have gone right over it. Again, you could have the, sorry, I put Riku Replica, the original Riku Replica medal in place of Riku Replica HD. You could have like Riku Replica there copying like Jewel Roxas EX and then have like Sephiroth EX in the back to just do big old damage. But anyway, very, very, very nice. I definitely recommend it. It's always good to have, you know, copycat medals in your game. Oh, and this one is a cost 1 gauge as well, which you might be going, well, that makes it worse, right? And I go, yeah, in most cases, almost certainly yes, but I mean, in Proud Mode, there are certain quests that say only use like medals with 1 gauge cost, so it would be helpful in that, I suppose. Make it even easier to just spam Kari EX or Shion EX all over the place. With that, guys, I think that's pretty much it. Yeah, I'm sure someone's going to tell me that I missed out a medal or something, but that's fine. I think I've talked about it enough. Let me know, guys, are there any medals in this video that particularly enthused you or made you excited? Or are you pretty much just going to wait and see what Anniversary holds before you make any sort of purchasing decisions? I'm definitely feeling that. I'm feeling like I've been saving for a long time, and I'm definitely ready to do some pulling, so hopefully we have really, really good banners come anniversary. And yeah, hope you guys enjoyed. Apart from that, I'll catch you later. See you later, guys. All the best. Bye.